Hi everyone, I'm retired meteorologist Pat Prokop. I've been doing the weather here in southeastern Georgia, southern South Carolina, the greater Savannah, Hilton Head area since 1980. And I've seen hurricanes and tropical systems moving in and across the region. And this one looks pretty rough right now, to tell you the truth. Over the 42 years that I've been doing the weather conditions here, it's not the worst, but it looks pretty bad at that. So with that being said, let's get right into the maps. And so let's talk about what to expect before we get into the maps and so forth, because that's the more important aspect of the storm itself. And the storm is going to bring in a lot of bad weather conditions across our region. So first of all, we're going to see some very strong winds, not only in the coastal counties, but the inland counties as well. We could see tropical storm force winds all the way out to US Highway 1 or a little beyond that as well. Those are winds of 39 miles per hour or greater. The storm force winds of 54 miles per hour or greater will be in just about all of the coastal counties. And we could also possibly see winds up to 65, even approaching hurricane force in some of the coastal counties with this system. And then the tide is going to be very, very high tides. The tides are going to be running 2 to 4 feet above the normal. And then the values for this week with the full moon, the tides are going to be up around 9 feet. And then you add 2 to 4 feet to that, you're talking 11 to 13 feet. So we're talking some very strong high tides, and that's going to cause severe flooding across the coastal counties. If the tide does indeed get that high. And also the rains are going to be a major issue with this storm, expecting anywhere from 4 to 6 inches of rain, in some locations up to 8 inches of rain with this system, not only in the coastal counties, but again, all the way out to Statesboro, US Highway 1, in Vidalia. You can see 4 to 6 inches of rain out there as well, maybe 2 to 4 inches. But 4 to 6 inches east of Highway US 1, all the way out to the coastal areas. That includes the South Carolina coastal counties as well for this system. And then you're also going to have, with the strong winds, there's going to be a lot of tree and structural damage associated with this storm. The coastal counties, again, will receive the strongest winds, and the southern counties around the from Valdosta, moving up toward the Coffee County and so forth, those areas could see hurricane force winds. And then the upper areas of southeastern Georgia could see winds of 45 to 60 miles an hour, including Bullitt County, Toombs and Tatnall County. You can see some very strong damaging winds out there, and that will cause some structural damages and tree limb damage, resulting in power outages. So expect power outages to be associated with this storm. And the timeline basically for this, most of the activity will come in overnight on Tuesday. It'll start getting windy overnight Tuesday, and then Wednesday morning getting very windy and extremely windy on Wednesday afternoon into Wednesday night into Thursday morning. It looks like most of the damage will be occurring mid to late afternoon Wednesday through Wednesday night. So keep that in mind. That's where we could see some very heavy rains, flash flooding possibilities, and also the coastal flooding with the time of the high tides. So let's talk about this right now. The latest forecast, this was as of 11 o'clock this morning. The 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock advisory will be coming up shortly, and I'll try to get it before this video is over. I'll post it up in the video anyway. But the forecast is for this to be a hurricane in the eastern Gulf of Mexico, becoming a major hurricane. A major hurricane is winds of 115 miles an hour or 100 knots. And it just might do that as it gets up into the northeastern Gulf of Mexico and then cuts across the upper portions of Florida into southeastern Georgia and right along the coast of South Carolina, Hilton Head, Beaufort area, and up toward the Charleston region as a strong tropical storm. And the issues with this is, of course, the wind and the rain and the storm surge that will be associated with it. And right now, the National Hurricane Center has a tropical storm watch and a storm surge watch for the coastal areas of Georgia from the Altamaha River southward. That might be extended northward. We'll have to just wait and see. Most likely it will for the greater Savannah area up in toward Hilton Head and the Beaufort area of South Carolina. All right, let's take a look at the satellite imagery. And there you have the two storms. You have Franklin over here south of Bermuda, and nothing of any concern for us other than the swells that are being generated and affecting the coastal areas of Georgia and South Carolina, and of course the northeastern portions of Florida, producing strong rip currents. Not a good idea to be swimming out on the beaches right now. And then you have Idalia over here in the northern portion of the Caribbean Sea, just near the Straits of the Yucatan right now, between the Yucatan Peninsula and the western tip of Florida. And it's getting better organized, and it's as of 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock afternoon on Monday, it was just shy of hurricane status. It's at 70 miles an hour. Most likely will be a hurricane by the 5 o'clock advisory. And then this storm will be moving northward up in toward the warm waters of the eastern Gulf of Mexico. As a matter of fact, let's take a look at that right now and look at those water temperatures. And there they are. Those are some very warm water temperatures. These values are in the upper 80s to around 90 degrees Fahrenheit, or upper 20s and lower 30s in the Celsius temperature scale. And let's take a closer look at that right here. And there you can see these very warm waters, 31 degrees. That's 90 degrees, or nearly 90 degrees, 89.5 or something like that. But 31 degree water temperature right off the coast of Tampa, Florida, and in the Gulf of Mexico, northeast Gulf of Mexico. So this is some very warm water. That's probably around 32 degrees or lower 90s right there. Now, remember, as I said in the last couple of videos, and I'll say it again, the warmer the water, the more energy available for storm development. And the hurricanes tap this warm water. That's their fuel supply. Again, it's like the high octane values in gasoline. You can put in low octane of 87 or 89, or you can pump it up to 93 octane. And the higher the octane, the hotter the fuel burns. The same thing with these water temperatures. The higher the water temperature, the more chance for rapid storm development when the storm moves over into this area of rich supply of fuel. And to top it off, it looks like the atmosphere in the mid and upper layers of the atmosphere will be more conducive for development. So everything is pointing toward rapid intensification of the storm Idalia over the next 24 to 36 hours. And so we could see this storm going from a Category 1 hurricane to a Category 3. You can't rule out a Category 4, but a Category 3 certainly looks like it for this storm right here, possibility. So let's take a look at the models. First of all, the Global Forecast System, the GFS, that's the American model, and there you can see the storm. It continues to keep the center of the storm a little bit west of all the other models. It's almost the outlier to the west. It's keeping it to the west, but just remember, on the east and northeast side of this storm, any type of tropical storm in this portion of the world, that's where you have the most turbulence, and that's where you can see the very strong squalls, rain squalls with very strong damaging winds, and also spin-up tornadoes that could develop with winds up to 100 miles an hour or so. So you got to watch out for that. And of course, now this also is going to be producing a southeasterly steady flow of strong winds across the Atlantic Ocean, and that's going to be coupled in with the high tide that's coming up. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. Flooding high tides with the super full moon coming in. Now, the RGM model shows that the storm coming up across the region, and this is more what looks like the Hurricane Center's path forecast. And there you can see a very wound up storm as it moves across southeastern Georgia into southern South Carolina with a tremendous amount of rain that's associated with it, not to mention the very strong and damaging winds. And these winds are going to be damaging all the way out to possibility out to Highway US 1. So everybody in southeastern Georgia and the eastern portions of South Carolina most likely will have some very strong winds and the possibility of tree damage, which will result in power outages across the region. There'll be scattered power outages across the areas in the inland counties adjacent to the coastal counties and further inland. But the coastal counties might see more widespread power outages with this storm as it moves up. We'll just have to hope and pray that we don't get all those power outages. But the possibility is certainly there for that. Let's look at the forecast rain totals. This is the European Center for Medium Range Weather Forecast, European model. showing moderate to heavy rains expected across our region of southeastern Georgia and southern South Carolina, anywhere from 3 to 6 inches of rain that could be falling across the region. Let's take a look at the GFS model. It has, again, the rain a little bit further westward because the whole system was further west. And the Canadian model has been doing very well on this forecast with this storm, and the last couple of storms it did very well too. And it shows a wide patch of very heavy rains across southeastern Georgia into almost central Georgia, central Savannah River area, all the way down to the coast and into just about the eastern half of South Carolina with tremendous amounts of rain. We're talking 4 to 6 inches, up to 8 inches in some locations, possibility with this system. And that's just in like a 36-hour time period. So that's going to be really a major flooding event in the inland areas as well. Freshwater flooding there. Coastal areas, the combination of freshwater flooding and the high tide with saltwater flooding coming in there. Let's take a look at the what's called the National Digital Data Forecast. This is the combination of all the different models and the National Weather Service employees putting everything together and to come up with this forecast here. And it shows some very heavy rains, as you can see with the pass of that storm, anywhere from 4 to 6 inches in this core of golden colors here, 4 to 5 inches in the yellow, and 3 to 4 inches in the red areas there. Looking at the closer view of this into the greater Savannah area, Brunswick and Hilton Head, Beaufort area. Expect to see, again, very, very heavy rains. People would ask me about, well, what about Statesboro? What about Hinesville and Idalia? Well, look, Statesboro, you get forecast of 4 inches of rain there, and that's about in a 24 to 36-hour time period. And further inland around the Valdosta area, 4.5 inches, almost 6 inches of rain there. Savannah, 5.6 inches of rain. Same thing for about Beaufort and Beaufort and Hilton Head, South Carolina, and Bluffton. In the Hinesville area, about the same as Savannah. Same thing all the way down into all of the southeastern counties. So expect to see some moderate to heavy rains. Now, in combination of the heavy rains, we also have another situation developing. Let me bring it up here. Another problem we have is with the super full moon coming in. It's super because the moon's going to be close, and the closer the moon, the more gravitational pull it has on the Earth. And in the process of this super full moon, actually it's going to be the second full moon of the month, so it's going to be a blue moon. It actually won't turn blue, but it's called a blue moon, as rare as a blue moon. That's when you have 2 full moons in 1 month. But anyway, we have the tides coming in. Now, these are the values of the tide just calculated from the combination of the gravitational forces of the sun and the moon, called astronomical values. And I'm more concerned about this time period right in here. This is for tomorrow, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And you can see the morning high tide, 7.3 feet on Tuesday, 7.8 feet on Wednesday. Then the evening high tides, 8.6 feet on Tuesday and 8.8 feet on Wednesday. Now, during this tidal period here from Tuesday night to Wednesday morning, we're going to have a strong flow of winds across the southeast, coming in from the southeast, and that's going to be pushing the tide up even higher. As a matter of fact, the tide could be about 2 to 4 feet higher than these predicted values, and an outside chance up to 6 feet higher. But let's just go with a 2 to 4 foot increase in the tide. So if you add 4 feet to this 9 feet here, basically, you're looking at 12 to 13 feet tide, 12 to 13 foot, anywhere between 10, 11, 12, 13 feet on the tide. Now, what does that mean? Tidal flooding usually starts in and around this area of the world at around 9.6, 9.7 feet. But when it gets up to 10 feet, water is already crossing over the highway on US 80 between the Bull River and Lazaretto Creek. So if we get a 12-foot tide, that's going to cause major problems. A couple years ago, we had Hurricane Ian do that, coming in from the back door, and the strong winds being pulled in from the Atlantic Ocean drove the tide up to 12 feet, and we had some major flooding with that. So we're going to see some potential flooding with the tides coming up for this weekend. Now, looking at my webpage, savannahpat.name, that's the easy way to remember it. There it is right above me, the website name. You can find me on these different media, the social media, Facebook, Instagram, I have also on that new thing called Threads. Also, you can find me on YouTube, which you're watching right now, and also on my website, savannahpat.name, and Twitter, that thing called Twitter. I guess it's called X now. This is going to be a very damaging event, I think, across our region. So, take heed and take warning that this system is coming in, and be prepared. See you later.